he's not going to Japan. They haven't announced that officially, but there's no way that he's going to be ready to go there and compete.
Man, it's
So
disappointing.
Wouldn't it be great if we could just cancel Tokyo or push it back maybe another month or maybe to 2026? We can't, but we can look at what the lineup looks like now without Matt Shaw and likely without Nico Horner here on the Setup Man. Cubs fans, Setup Nation, welcome into the Setup Man. And I want to make sure that you know really quickly, we are releasing this episode on Wednesday. On Wednesday nights, we are, before the season starts, doing what we call the Dugout, which is an opportunity for you, the fans, to get involved with me and some other Setup Man crew members to talk about your excitement, your frustration right now with this Matt Shaw information, probably more frustration than anything, and being a part of our channel. That is on our Facebook group, which I know a lot of you love Facebook and a lot of you don't love Facebook, but that is where it is for right now. We'll probably eventually bring this onto YouTube, but we are having a lot of fun with it on Facebook. So go down to the link below, whether you're listening on the podcast or watching on the YouTube channel. You can join that Facebook group and you can chat with us. You can rant with us. Heck, you can even come on and just talk about how nice the Chicago weather is or is not. So whatever you'd like to talk about. But listen, we want to get right now into this whole Matt Shaw information that Bruce Levine shared on 670 The Score this morning. And it wouldn't be an official Cubs season if we weren't dealing with an oblique injury, right? First in 2023, it was Seiya Suzuki out for nearly a month. Then it was Jameson Taillon out for nearly, 3 weeks-ish to start the season. And then Seiya had another oblique in the middle of that season. And now you've got Matt Shaw. You've got Javier Assad. The oblique bug has hit Cubs camp as usual. And now you just have to wonder a few things. So actually yesterday I released an episode where I had told Matt Cozy, who was in one of our live spaces, I think Matt Shaw will be fine for Tokyo based on the conversations I had with him at spring training. And then, of course, this information comes out the very next day from Bruce Levine, and I have to eat my words. But I wonder in that same conversation if our guy, Ty Lewin, had a little bit of a good idea. Well, I don't want to say it's a good idea, but I want to say if it's a good intuition about how the Cubs organization might work this thing based on the fact that you think back to the Chris Bryant era and how he in 2015 was not called up until middle of April so that they could extend his service time for an extra year, which at the time were up in arms. Hey, we want to win this season, bring him in. But it ended up being a good thing because Cubs still had a huge run in 2015. And of course, Chris Bryant wins Rookie of the Year and then next year wins the MVP. And they get an extra year of him, which they end up trading and at a good time trade him. The same could be said in terms of how the Cubs organization with Jed at the helm might run this Matt Shaw thing. Hey, he's going to miss the first 2 games of the season. Why not extend that? I believe the number is 15. Don't quote me on this. If anyone does know the actual numbers, please make sure you share this in the comments on YouTube. I believe the number is 15, and if he basically comes up on, I believe, the 16th game of the year, then the Cubs get another year of service out of Matt Shaw. And there's an argument now that if he's not going to be ready for Tokyo, like Bruce Levine said, then what's another 13 games? I don't know. I'm not excited about that. I want to see Matt Shaw on March 18th in Tokyo. That's what I want to see, but I don't think that's going to happen now that Bruce is talking about this. So if it's not March 18th, if it's not March, 27th, I believe is the start of the season, pulling this up right now. March 27th, yes, in Arizona. If it's not then that puts them at about end of the second week of April, middle of the second week of April. Am I upset about that? Yeah, probably a little bit. Am I crying about it? No, I'm not. And so I can see it happening. I can honestly see it happening. Now, the bigger question becomes, what does this lineup look like going into Tokyo? And I've got it up on your screen here. From a positional standpoint, we know all of the positions. Seiya at DH, Happ in left, PCA in center, Kyle Tucker in right, Miguel Amaya likely behind the dish to start the season, Dansby at short, and then you've got Michael Busch at first base. But second base and third base. There is no chance Nico Horner is going to be ready for Japan. That if Matt Shaw is questionable for Japan to the point where Bruce Levine is saying, I just don't think it's possible, then like 10x that for Nico. I know there's been reports that are very positive about him coming back in April, especially maybe even the beginning of the season in Arizona. I personally don't see it. I don't see it. But either way, we're talking about Tokyo right now. So let's stay on track, Kyle. All right. So second base. Who you got? John Birdie? Vidal Brujan? Does James Triantos get his major league debut before Matt Shaw? Think about that for a second. And then third base, I think it has to be Gage Workman at this point. You have to give him a shot. You have to give him at least a week or two with the team. And then if you DFA him or whatever, I don't know. I know that if you let him go right now, he goes back to Detroit for $50,000. If Detroit declines, he can essentially stay with the Cubs, is my understanding. But I don't know what that looks like in season. I don't know if he plays 10 games and the Cubs say, never mind, Matt Shaw's coming up and you're the 26-man Gage Workman. I don't know what that looks like. But I do think that he makes the most sense as your opening day third baseman. But would Jed and Craig and crew say, hey, no, put Justin Turner over there against his former team, the Dodgers? So then what does the lineup look like then? I mean, this is where I get a little bit depressed, especially when you look at the first three in the Dodgers lineup. It's going to be Mookie, it's going to be Freddie, it's going to be Shohei, it's going to be Teoscar Hernandez right after that. I mean, it's so dangerous. And then we've got Hap. I tried to put Kyle Tucker at second, and then I just kept cringing on the number 4 batter. Because if you put Kyle Tucker second, then Seiya bats third, or who's batting third? Michael Busch is batting third. Dansby's batting third. That makes me cringe a little bit. Then if you put Tucker at second and Seiya at third, then who's your number 4 guy? Busch, cringe. Dansby, cringe. Number 4 batter? You clean up? I don't know. The like old school baseball guy in me just cannot put either of those guys at number 3 or 4. So I've got Tucker third, Seiya fourth, Busch fifth. Workman maybe switches back and forth there with Amaya. Maybe it's Amaya 6, Workman 7, John Birdie 8, and PCA 9. The only thing I like about this is that, you know, you've got your speed at the bottom of the lineup to come back up for Hap. So I don't know. Like literally after the number 5 hitter, I'm just like, wow, yikes. You put Nico and Shaw in there, it's a completely different lineup. So we're just going to have to be patient. But that leads me to my next point, which is Tokyo's stupid. Not the city in itself. I'm just saying the whole idea of the Japan series, it's just not good. It's not managed well. The timeline is not good. I'm sure MLB has their reasons for this, but you know what? It doesn't make sense as a fan. It makes zero sense as a fan because here's the thing. You are loading up your team. By the way, the season starts March 18th in Tokyo. That's a Tuesday. I'm looking at the calendar right now. The Cubs leave March probably 11th after the game in Milwaukee or against Milwaukee, or either that or the 12th early in the morning. So literally they're leaving a week early, and they're leaving to go play a couple exhibition games, and then they play on the 18th and the 19th, the actual games, a Tuesday and a Wednesday, and then they leave they have to leave on the 19th. They have to play that game and they have to leave on the 19th. It doesn't make any sense for them to leave the next day because then on the 21st, they have another exhibition game. Now, could they send the minor league guys? Could they treat it like, hey, we're going to give our other guys a rest? They probably will. But why do we have to force the Cubs to then come back and play 5 exhibition games and then start the real season? This, to me, what this feels like is you get married. It's, you know, my wife and I got married in Cabo. I think about it as, okay, this amazing wedding. You're on the beach. It's incredible. You got all your friends around you. And then, oh, sorry, babe, peace out. I just said I do, but now I need to go on a work trip back home. But you guys stay here and celebrate. That's what it feels like to me. We start the season and then, oh, we got to leave, go back to exhibition, and then we get to start the real season. We start the marriage, oh, I got to leave for a week, and then we start the real marriage when I come back from this work trip. I just think that that's such a kick to the balls. And it sucks because as a fan, when the season starts, I want the season to start. Like, I just want to be in this mode of like, yes, season starts. And I almost feel like, and I remember, what was it, 2000 when this happened? Like, I was still in high school. There was no way I was waking up at 2 a.m. to go watch a game while in high school and needing to function that day. This year, of course, I'm getting up at 2, 3 a.m. to watch this game Pacific time. No doubt. But am I going to be happy about that? No. It doesn't even, to me, it's not even going to feel like the real start of the season. It's going to feel like 2 games that really, this is going to feel like exhibition, but it actually counts. Not to mention the fact that none of these pitchers are going to be ramped up. Yamamoto versus Shota to start the season. Wow, headliner. Boom. MLB is going to be there. Marquee is going to be there. All the networks, all the media is going to be there. This is amazing. We're hyping it up. And then what? Shota's out after 3 innings of shutout ball or 1-run ball. Yamamoto's out after 2 and third inning, just like he was. I don't know what the actual stat line was last year when they started with the Padres, but I don't think he lasted after 2 innings. So the hype looks good, but the actual implementation of those first 2 games is going to feel, to me, I'd be surprised if it's not a bullpen game from each. And the Cubs are bringing in an extra 5 players, so a lot of those are probably going to be pitchers. I don't know the exact rules on who's allowed to actually play, or all 31 allowed to play. The saving grace is that the Cubs start the season in Arizona. So that's good. At least they don't have to like go Arizona to Chicago or Arizona to Milwaukee because they're starting the season in Milwaukee. At least that isn't happening. And then on the Dodgers side, they're coming back to Arizona and then they go back to LA, which is only like a 5-hour drive. So there's at least that. But would it not just make more sense to say, okay, play out more spring training, and then while everyone else starts their season on March 27th, the Cubs and the Dodgers will start their season on, I'm looking at the calendar here, March 22nd. And they're going to fly out to Japan 6 days before that, which ends up being on March 16th, March 17th-ish. And then you give those 5 games that are, when you come back, those 5 games are now being played before they leave for Japan. And then they play on the 22nd, they play on the 23rd. Forget those exhibition games. I get it. It's a nice publicity thing, but no one is really looking forward to the Cubs playing the Giants or the Tigers in Japan. So when they come back, now it's 2 days of rest because you play on the 22nd, the 23rd. You leave on the 23rd or the 24th. You rest on the 25th. You rest on the 26th. And then you play on the 27th. And you start the season. Does that not make more sense? Am I alone on this? Or am I preaching? Do I need to get off the pedestal? Like, just let me know what you think in the comments, because while I was not a fan of the Tokyo thing, now with Matt Shaw, now with Nico Horner being pushed back, now with these injuries, I'm just like even less of a fan of it. And I even, here's another thing. I think back to Justin Steele on opening day 2024 in Texas, and that pulled hamstring. And the chance of that happening goes up when you are not stretched out as a pitcher, when you're not conditioned as a pitcher quite yet, when you're missing out on those last 1 or 2 starts that you need to be ready for the season, and you go into game mode. And in spring training, you've just been in spring training mode. Justin Steele's on a bunt, not going to go after that bunt at spring training. But in Tokyo, he's going to do that. And if he's not fully conditioned yet because he's missing out on 1 or 2 starts before the season, the chances of that, this is minuscule. I realize this is a reach, but like, you have to admit the risk goes up. And what's the reward here? The reward for Major League Baseball is continuing to get the players acclimated to other places. It's great for the players. The fans get to see a different stadium. All of the Japanese fans get to see not only their favorites in Sasaki and Yamamoto and Shohei and Shota and Seiya, all these guys, but then they get introduced to Major League Baseball players. I get it. It's a great marketing thing. I just don't like the idea that it just happens in the middle of spring training, then we got to come back and finish spring training. I think that's dumb. All right, we're going to end with this note. Cam Smith hit 2 home runs yesterday in a spring training game. And of course, all of Cubs Twitter is up in arms saying, now we have to extend Kyle Tucker. Cam Smith, why did we trade him for Kyle Tucker? He's of course going to be a superstar because he hit 2 home runs in 1 spring training game. I want to give some perspective on this, and I also want to tell you I have a very strong opinion about this. I would do this trade over 100 times. Isaac Paredes, Hayden Wesneski, both had little to no value on the Cubs, given the fact that Paredes and how his swing worked and the fact that he didn't look very comfortable in Chicago, and then Hayden Wesneski was given multiple chances to succeed in Chicago, and it just wasn't quite there, didn't quite hit where we needed it to. And then a guy who has 30 to 32, can't remember the exact number, minor league games, professional minor league games as a Cub, and we're already crowning him as a superstar is just crazy. It's crazy. Do I need to remind you of the Felix P.A.s, the Josh Vitters, the Hesop Choi's, the Micah Hoffpowers, Mark Pryor? Sorry, I have to. Who else? Matt Mervis, Corey Patterson, all of these guys. They were going to be the saviors. They were going to be the superstars. What happened? Whether it was injuries or poor performance or whatever it is, too much pressure on the guys, it never happened. The chances that Cam Smith, who, by the way, I hope is very successful and has a very successful major league career, the chances that Cam Smith, who has all of 30 professional games and a few of those being at Double-A, is going to be an absolute superstar, you might as well put him in the Hall of Fame right now, is crazy. And I'm sorry, Cubs fans, because I know this is an unpopular opinion, and you might want to say, well, I'm unsubscribing. That's not my intent here. My intent is to give you a strong opinion based on facts, based on past performance, based on what we tend to do in today's game, given the fact that there's Google, given the fact that there's minor league experts that are projecting what these guys are going to do. This is a guy that I hope has superstar success. But the chances that Cam Smith becomes a top 10 player, a top 20 player, a top 100 player in Major League Baseball at any point in his career is so small. And we want to put that on him and say, well, he was the next longtime third baseman. He was going to be the next Aramis Ramirez for the Cubs, and all we got was 1 year out of Kyle Tucker. Because let's be honest, we're probably only going to get 1 year out of Kyle Tucker. Again, not trying to be sad, not trying to be depressing, but when you look at where this organization is at, when you look at what Tom Ricketts has done, he's told Jed to cut payroll. At least we assume he's told Jed to cut payroll. And Jed has done an amazing job of making this a clear division winner by doing so. You have to applaud Jed. You have to look at the writing on the wall and say that Kyle Tucker, if he has any sort of halfway decent season, is going to get a payday. And the Cubs probably are not the team unless he absolutely falls in love with Chicago and gives a hometown discount, which I just cannot see happening. So we're going to look at this trade in 3 years and say, man, we shouldn't have traded Cam Smith. But when you look at what this team needs right now is a superstar. They don't need another prospect that hopefully will turn one day into a superstar. They needed a superstar, and Jed went out and did it, and I applaud him for that. I would do it again and again and again. You might not agree. That's okay. I hope we can still be friends. Let me know what you think in the comments. And by the way, those 2 home runs off of Austin Warren, who's thrown all of 48 career innings in the major leagues, and Connor Overton, 59 career innings, and that ERA is up close to 6. So, perspective. I'm going to go put my arm on ice, Setup Nation. Talk to you later.